Hey, welcome back to American Bandstand. Now, welcome back to the Ray Lucia Show. I am John Ransom, filling in, but not replacing the irreplaceable Ray Lucia, the man who practically built financial talk radio over the last 30 years. Pleased to be with him. Of course, we're going to hear from him coming up in the next segment. He's going to answer your money questions. Some of the best listeners around with very, very good money questions. They've been listening to the show, obviously, for a long, long time, and you've been working with the man for a long, long time, too.
Yeah.
The questions don't change that much, but they can be reiterated, and certainly circumstances change quite a bit.
Yep.
Talking about the beginning of the show, Street.com, there was an article about 40 years old and screwed, how the MTV generation basically is facing an uphill battle when it comes to retirement planning.
Right.
To some extent, that applies to baby boomers too, in part because the market has been kind of volatile the last 20 years. It points out that millennials, however, people who are born around the turn of the century, they're starting to outsave the baby boomers and the Generation Xers. So here's the question. If you're 40, 50 years old, what do you do?
Start saving like crazy. First of all, you want to max out in your retirement plans. I mean, if there's any kind of match at all, as Ray said many times, that's free money. Don't ever walk away from free money. So you want to max out your retirement plan. And if you can't max it out today, start out with what you can start out. Some is better than none, as I say all the time, some is better than none. And then every time you get a raise, or you pay off something, or you have some sort of adjustment in your life that's positive, you incrementally build up your savings. You just give yourself a raise.
Right, I call that reverse budgeting, okay? So basically what you're doing is you're paying yourself first, then you're giving yourself a little bit of an increase, you know, over a period of time. So it doesn't really hurt every month. You just enough so that, you know, you don't really notice
1%.
it.
Who's going to miss the 1%?
Who's going to miss 1%,
Yeah.
right, over a long period of time. And you know, even if you're 50 years old and you haven't saved a dime, because you're in your peak earning years, this can make a big difference when it comes to retirement, right?
Huge difference. If someone's starting, let's say in their 50s, they're starting to save, and they're thinking, it's hopeless, I can't do it. Just do it. Do it the same way I said. Start with a number that works, and then give yourself a 1% raise maybe in 6 months, and then another 1% raise in another 6 months. You're not going to miss it. You're going to build your lifestyle around it. And the key is, at retirement, you may not get to retire in the lifestyle that you thought about when you were in your 20s. Who does? But at the same time, you might be able to say, take a part-time job in retirement, something you enjoy, because people don't sit around in retirement. They generally don't. And a part-time job, 2 or 3 days a week, and your retirement plus Social Security, you could actually be okay.
Well, truthfully, I mean, personally, I'd never want to sit around the house that much. I mean, I want to be out doing things. People are, you know, and not necessarily playing golf either. I don't.
Right.
But if somebody like pay me to fish part time, I might think about a job. I might think about a job like that. Okay, so that goes along with another thing that we were looking at from Think Advisor. It's called "Why I Don't Know and I Don't Care Is Underrated." It's Eric Nelson, analyst from Servo Wealth Management Principal, and basically what he was referring to is the fact that Alan Greenspan in 1996 said that there was irrational exuberance in the stock market.
I remember that.
Yet it took until 2001 for that bubble to burst. And he kind of points out that over a period of time from 1996 to now, if you had just stayed invested in the S&P 500, your return would have been about 7.7%, which is way ahead of the cash investors' 2.3% nominal return on the money over those 18 years. And it kind of makes the case against market timing, and it kind of makes the case that you need to have a discipline and stick with it, right?
You need to have a strategy, and you need to stick to the strategy. I mean, one of the things that was missing from Mr. Greenspan's discussion was the words "get out of the market." He never said it. He never said it. What he said was, there's too much irrational exuberance going on in stocks, and in particular in those days it was the dot-coms. So what we saw was the market took a real beating because there was a forerunner, which was the dot-coms, and then it really took a hit. But at the same time, we also know that always has recovered, and in fact after that type of a decline, actually the rate of returns oftentimes improve.
Well, and 7.7% over an 18-year period on the
Who's
S&P
gonna walk
5.
away from that?
Who is really going to complain? And it
No.
points out that investors in small and value tilted U.S. and global portfolios saw 9.9 and 9.4%
Right.
respectively, way ahead of the S&P 500. And it's kind of counterintuitive to what everybody would believe if you've been reading the media for the last 20 years about the stock market being, oh, it's not safe, it's just a place.
Yeah, I think they call it the gamblers, whatever.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
They do. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that the point is that the fix is in. And I'm not saying that there aren't pockets of that, just
Yeah.
like there are pockets of that everywhere, whether you have religious institutions or the NFL or...
Exactly. And what you need to do is you need to be balanced about it. You need to diversify, as Ray has said repeatedly. You want to diversify in that third bucket, if you will, of investments where you've got it in the market. You want to have it in maybe some stocks. You want to have it in some mutual funds. You want to have it in some real estate. You want to have it in some oil and precious metals. I mean, you want to have a fully diversified portfolio so that one thing doesn't kill you.
Well, oftentimes I run into investors who say, I want to sell everything and just put it into, say, I'll pick on something, gold, for example.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he points out is that GLD, the Spider Gold Trust ETF, at the end of last month, GLD closed at about $114. That's a 36% decline over a 3-year, 9-month period. That is as bad a total loss as investors experienced on the S&P 500 in 2008.
Goodness.
And that's the worst year for stocks since 1930s.
And that was one of the reasons why repeatedly we would tell people 5% in gold, 5%, 5%. No more than 5%. If you're going to do gold, 5%.
Well, and it's also just kind of cautionary tale. You never bet on one particular thing. That's the whole reason why you have portfolio diversification anyways, because there will be a time when gold will outperform the stock market. We just don't know when it's going to come, do we?
That's exactly right. And money managers will tell you the same thing. They won't put more than 5%. Mutual funds won't put more than 5% in any one stock. Mm-hmm. Same deal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So there is hope for people who have undersaved.
You bet.
Okay, and especially
There's
people who are 40. How do they get in touch with you?
877-270-3127. And
I want my LTC.net.
Yeah.
I like the .net better than the .com actually.
Yeah.
I think it differentiates your website from.
Just think of safety net.
Yes, exactly, and that's kind of the point, because really at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do for these people, especially when it comes to long-term care. Is in addition to maybe giving some respite to the caregivers, making sure the principles, the quality of life is good. Right. You're also creating kind of a safety net for the rest of the assets underneath it, so they don't spend their whole life. They've worked their whole life to try to gather up these assets and to give them away at the end. It's kind of like poor tax planning. It drives me nuts when I see people who have not planned properly for taxes, because they work their whole life and it's not.
And then it's going to the government.
Well, and it's not what you save; it's what you're able to spend. And if you make some smart decisions on the other end of it, you can also be able to improve your lifestyle quite a bit. We talk about these little things making big differences when it comes to rates of return in the stock market.
Good point. Very good point. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we can do is take a look at your overall portfolio, kind of dovetail the insurance planning with that. I mean, it's all about you and wrapping that package around your needs and your budget.
And this isn't the 1990s or even the early 2000s where it's just adequate to say IBM good or bad. I mean, basically, when you start to look at these things, you have to take kind of a holistic approach. You have to take a look at the stock portion. You have to take a look at the insurance portion. You have to take a look at the fixed income portion.
Right.
You have to take a look at the cash portion. You have to really take a holistic approach. Otherwise, your portfolio strategy probably just isn't working the way you think, not optimally
exactly
anyways.
Right.
You're either getting too little return for too much risk, or you're getting too much risk for too little return, or some combination of those two, right?
Some bad combination oftentimes.
Right.
Yeah.
And we want to, as much as possible, we can't predict the future, but we can certainly plan for the future, and that's what CFP stands for, right?
That's right.
Certified Financial planner. Hey, you can call Lyn at 1-877-270-3127. That's 877-270-3127. Or you can get her at iwantmyltc.net. That's iwantmyltc.net. Any closing comments for those people who are a little behind?
It's been a pleasure to be on the show with you, John.
it.
You're doing a great job, and call me.
Yeah, call. If you're a little behind, even if you think you're on track, it never hurts to have a second opinion. Again, that's 877-270-3127. Coming up after the break, we're going to have the great man himself, Ray Lucia, join us answering your money questions, some of the best money questions anywhere on the air in the known universe, right here, Ray Lucia Show. I'm John Bam Ransom, filling in but not replacing the irreplaceable Ray Lucia.